Hello, Star Trek fans. Welcome to ReBinge It. This is the ReBinge Star Trek Voyager podcast. My name is Kim.
And my name is James.
And we are rebinging Star Trek Voyager from the beginning, one episode at a time. Welcome back to the podcast, and welcome to Season 5, Episode 1.
We are there. We are another season in to Star Trek Voyager.
This episode is called Night, and it aired October 14th, 1998. Been a few weeks since we've had an episode out, but anything to say about either Season 4 or the Season 4 wrap-up?
I think the end of Season 4 with Hope and Fear, what a great episode.
Yeah, we ended strong.
And I do actually enjoy doing the wrap-ups. I like talking about the season as a whole.
Oh yeah, it's good to just sort of put a cap on it.
Yeah.
We're recording far in advance, so there hasn't actually been time for anybody to listen to that and then complain to us about our picks. So by the time we get those, we'll be way moved on.
Nobody can complain about Year of Hell. It's the most fantastic Voyager episode of the entire show.
Yeah. They just might complain it wasn't my number one. Or they might complain about something we put in the bottom. Not sure. Well, maybe because I put message in a bottle in the bottom. Yeah. But we got some emails of other people who hate that episode. Yes. I felt vindicated.
We do not feel alone in some of our choices.
That's right. Every now and then I feel quite alone in my choices, but it's okay.
Like how those of us who love Move Along Home and see the whole point of that episode, the fans of that episode, you're not alone. I am with you.
That's right. It's a small group, but you're there. Well, I have a lot of notes for today's episode, so we probably should get going.
Really? Okay.
We open in an old-timey science fiction movie in black and white where the evil villain is telling the people of Earth they must acquiesce to his demands. This guy, who we later learn is called Dr. Chaotica, has a sinister goatee, a long, dramatic dress, I guess?
Flowing robes.
Yeah, or a dress, and a lightning bolt sort of skull cap. We see Harry tied up next to a blonde woman that we've not seen before, so I assume she's a hologram.
Yeah.
The evil guy is very melodramatic, and after an exchange with Harry, Tom bursts in to save the day. In this story, he's Captain Proton, spaceman first class, protector of Earth.
This is so very obviously Flash Gordon. Chaotica is Ming the Merciless. They're not even trying to hide it. I mean, he looks exactly like Ming the Merciless.
He does look like Ming the Merciless. But that movie wasn't black and white, so I don't know where that comes from.
Oh, no, they're jumping back to like the original 1930s Flash Gordon serial.
Oh.
If you've ever seen them, they are very melodramatic. They are very much like this. Buster Crabbe, I believe, was the original Flash Gordon from memory. And the later movie that was made was very much made with a nod to that original design style.
I'm only aware of the movie.
Yeah.
Is this your Atiba Reister moment where you're talking about something that happened like in the 1930s or something?
Yes.
Okay. Not something you've experienced personally.
No, I've actually watched it.
Not in the 30s, though.
No, not in the 30s.
Did you watch it on YouTube or where did you see it? It must have been on TV at some point.
Yeah, the BBC would show it, and I don't remember when. But yeah, I have seen it, and more than once.
Yeah, I remember when we first met, you would talk about these old like TV shows and movies that I'm like, what are you talking about? But it was that they would they aired for you so much later than when they aired originally here.
Right.
So, okay, got it.
And the other thing I'll comment here is Captain Proton also seemed to incorporate a lot of the Rocketeer.
Yeah, he does look like the Rocketeer.
The backpack is clearly influenced by that, even if it isn't the exact Rocketeer style of one.
Well, and the robot we're going to see is also influenced by a few other things.
I'll call out to Rocketeer cosplayers here, because I've met a number of them at cons, and those guys do a really good job of making the rocket pack and how it looks. He met some great Rocketeer cosplayers.
I thought that movie was really stupid. I did not like the Rocketeer.
No, you did not.
But it comes from something else, right? Was it from a comic?
I think so, yes.
But yeah, the movie I did not enjoy. You and Atiba were together watching it in the 50s.
Along with the honeymooners.
Along with the honeymooners, exactly. It is fun here to see Captain Chaotica having to sort of pick up his dress every time he walks. Yeah. Like Janeway in that episode with Q, the Civil War episode, where she kept having to pick up that stupid long dress to walk. It's very impractical to be in an action show with a long dress. Well, the Doctor now appears in full color while everyone else is black and white. Yep. He complains that it's his turn on the holodeck schedule and Tom's time is done. Chaotica calls for his robot to attack the Doctor, which causes the Doctor to roll his eyes and freeze the program. This robot, by the way, is sort of a giant trash can with arms. That's how I would describe it, like a Doctor Who robot.
Oh, yeah, well, certainly like an early Doctor Who robot.
Yeah.
It is just awesome. I mean, it looks great. Looking at this whole scene, I'm like, this would make a group cosplay. They've got a great look with all of them.
Yeah, and there's that person who comes dressed as Lucille Ball, and she makes herself look black and white.
Right.
We'd have to make ourselves black and white. That would be a lot of makeup.
Well, I did see online that people have played Captain Proton with making it all monochrome. Mm-hmm. And this made me laugh, people playing the robot.
Yeah, that would be very warm. The Doctor and Tom get into a scuffle for control of the holodeck control panel, and as usual, Tom is being an entitled jerk. I mean, if there's a schedule, just follow it, you big baby.
Yeah, he is being very selfish and very inconsiderate.
Their childish shenanigans cause a power surge in the holodeck. We jump to the bridge where an exasperated Chakotay calls, telling them to get their act together and fix the holodeck. Seven brings some bad news to the bridge. She's completed a scan of the region, and there are no star systems for 2,500 light years. She does note that heavy concentrations of theta radiation are making it impossible for sensors to see beyond the empty space. There are also no other ships on sensors, which is all scary.
Yep.
Chakotay says it's every sailor's nightmare, like being becalmed in the middle of the ocean, which I had to look up, and it meant you're like stuck in the middle of the ocean with no wind.
It particularly applies to the age of sail.
Oh, God.
Well, that's really what it means, is there's no wind, you're stuck.
We haven't heard Age of Sail in episodes, I mean, but first time in season 5 is in episode 1, so it figures.
Well, you led to this by using the word becalmed.
Okay. We learn we've been crossing this expanse, also known as the Void, for 2 months already, and apart from sensors, we can't even tell that we're moving. Chuckles wonders, how are we going to last another 2 years? And Seven says, we'll adapt. Seven asks if she should inform the captain of her findings, but Chuckles says, no, I'll do it. And we cue the opening credits.
Oh, that interaction was pretty funny, because when Seven walks in, Chakotay says, I want good news. That's an order.
Yeah.
Seven just says, I will have to disobey.
I got on the phone with someone a couple of weeks ago in a one-on-one, and that's what I said to him. I'm like, could we start with your good news for a change? And he was like, no, I don't have any. And I thought, I should have just hung up.
The good news is I'm calling you. And that's the end of it.
Yes. The good news is I have shown up for this meeting.
So let's talk about the interesting things in this opening. No star systems for 2,500 light years?
Yeah.
So is this a bubble of some kind?
Well, we don't know. It's some kind of dead space.
Yeah.
I was wondering, is it like a giant dust cloud and they can't see through it? And their sensors can't pick anything up?
Let's go into unwanted education time.
Oh, that's a lot of my time with you. Unwanted education. Of things I don't want to know about. Like the Age of Sail.
Well, from reading, this actually is sci-fi. There isn't a vast area of the Milky Way, our galaxy, that's just empty. There are, however, areas of interstellar dust that are apparently quite high density and literally block light from the other stars. Mm-hmm. So it could be something like that. Mm-hmm. And also wondering whether it comes from maybe the writers reading about this and interpreting it incorrectly. There's an area of our galaxy that is apparently devoid of young stars and only has older ancient stars in it. So they might have interpreted that and going, oh, there's no stars there. Well, there's no younger stars, but there is stars there. So that might be what they're talking about. And it's actually quite a very large region towards the center of our galaxy. So this, I think, is completely science fiction. We could probably get a really good answer if we contacted Aaron McDonald.
Oh, the science advisor for Discovery.
Yes.
And Strange New Worlds.
But I think it's an interesting concept, even if it's a little on the extreme side.
Yeah. I like it when we do something different. I mean, the thing is, many times they'll try something different, but a lot of times they execute it badly.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you think about Vis-a-Vis from the last season. We said,
yes.
Good concept, but we sort of fell on our face with it.
Yeah.
And there are a few things like that. So this is, it's a good example of something we tried, and I think it works.
Yeah.
Well, after the credits, we go to Chuckles giving a log that updates us on the last few months. They had no choice but to cross this desolate expanse of space because it's on their path home. So there was no way around it, apparently.
That's what my overanalysis is about.
They don't expect an opportunity to refresh supply, so everyone is working on creating an energy reserve and stockpiling deuterium. In a staff briefing, no one has anything new to report, and the captain is conspicuously absent still in this episode. Everything is operating efficiently except for crew morale, which is deteriorating. Neelix suggests rotating the crew into different jobs. He also suggests adding another holodeck in a cargo bay.
I mean, Harry should have a lot of experience at doing that. I mean, look what he did for the Herodians.
Yeah, what happened to all those holodecks from the Herodians?
I assume they converted those decks back into whatever they were before.
Well, that's a terrible idea. We should have kept them running, at least some of them.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a need for them.
Well, then Neelix asks what's happening with the captain as she's been invisible lately. He says if the crew sees her happy, they're happy.
Right.
Chuckles evades the questions, but B'Elanna says it is a bit odd. And then Chakotay snaps and says it's the captain's prerogative to operate the ship from wherever she likes. Wow. I guess she's working from home right now.
Yeah, she's zooming in.
But he tries to kind of calm himself down, and he's like, everything is fine. Everybody's a little snippy.
Yeah, so Chakotay spectacularly fails to address the senior officer and crew's concerned over where is the captain.
Yeah, it's a bomb.
And they're only 2 months in. Give it another 2 and they'll all be dead.
Yeah, and I would say the problem with his reaction here is that everybody's asking legitimate questions.
Yeah.
And they're pretty chill about it. It's not like they're being really negative about it. I think maybe that he didn't like the attitude they all came in with at the beginning, which was, why are we having this meeting? There's nothing to talk about.
They did have a bad attitude. I mean, I think, this is my opinion, I think he should start by addressing that before just getting snippy at them about where's the captain.
Yeah, he's not doing a good job of dealing with the crisis of the people.
Yes.
Because it's not just the crew that has the problem. It's the people in this room. It's everyone.
Yeah, it's your leadership is having the problem. That's going to trickle downhill.
Well, and if you think about it, it has, because where is the big problem? It's at the top. So it has already trickled down.
Well, yes, actually, yeah.
Well, now we follow Chakotay from the frustration of the ready room to his command chair, where he stares into empty black space. And just the sort of way the camera follows him from the ready room directly to his chair, it kind of gives this illusion of confinement and closed space.
Oh, yes. There is some great camera work in this episode to give you this feeling and sense of what's going on.
Yep.
But before we leave this, I have to bring up Neelix, where he said we could start rotating crew assignments. And my first thought was, you're not doing this already? Has Starfleet not read any books or studies about productivity optimization, about how repetition results in boredom results in lack of care, lower quality, and worse, distraction or disassociation from the work, both of which lead to accidents, which you really don't want when you're in the middle of nowhere for 2 years.
Yeah, I think the implication is that generally those jobs aren't like that. They're not just repetitive and boring.
Yeah.
But now in this space where nothing happens, where they don't run into anything and it's just flying straight for however long, for 2 straight years, now boredom has set in. And it certainly would have happened before 2 months in.
Right.
So, yeah, it's not cool that we haven't even discussed that until now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would say we've started this story 2 months in, right? We skipped those whole 2 months. Yeah. So I guess he could have said something like, could we go back to that thing I talked about 2 months ago? And maybe start doing that some more, or say, that's not working, or we're not doing it enough, or something like that. But I think you have to recognize that what they've done here is they're jumping you through the first 2 months, and you're already at the point of exasperation, just so that we're starting there with the story.
So what you're saying is the repetitiveness of tasks doesn't happen in normal operating conditions on a starship. And they've fallen into this trap of you're doing the same thing every day, day in, day out.
I feel like that's what Star Trek tells us.
Yeah.
That every day is something different on a starship or a space station. Yeah.
That I could accept as something that they're inexperienced with and wouldn't have contingency plans for your crew getting extremely bored.
But even like in corporate America, if you want a different job within the company, change the job. I mean, I doubt that they stop you from doing it. But to your point, if it gets super repetitive, people can just start getting sloppy, which can be very dangerous in this world. Yeah.
Yeah.
We jump now to Neelix waking up in his quarters in a bit of a panic. He too looks out the window into just blackness while nervously drinking tea.
Yeah. I mean, he's shaking as well. This is the second example of the great use of cameras here, because the way it does the slightly off-angle follow of him, and that gives a real sense of dislocation. Like, it feels something is wrong, and it feels unnatural.
Yeah.
Visually telling you things are not going well here.
Yeah, as he looks out that window, he's like, I need to get some curtains, which made me laugh. I agree. Just looking into blackness is very claustrophobic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it shouldn't be, but I can tell you it is.
Yeah, I think anybody who is claustrophobic is probably climbing the walls at this point.
Which is a point I have in my overanalysis about our one person who is claustrophobic.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to have a problem. So, not an accurate representation of claustrophobia. In the mess hall, Tom and B'Elanna are playing a board game and bickering as usual. Tom is being his usual selfish self, though he's accusing B'Elanna again of being the one who's the hothead. The whole thing with these two. Oh my God.
Well, it's her fault, obviously, yeah. Why is she even bothering with this douchebag? He is literally like being the definition of a self-centered boyfriend or partner.
Yeah, he's a nightmare.
Again, it comes back to, it feels like he's childish. Like he's very immature in the relationship and is like a teenager.
Yeah, and I, again, don't buy the way B'Elanna just takes it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's weird.
Doormat B'Elanna.
Neelix tries to interrupt the fight, but when the bickering continues, Neelix snaps. And he tells them they are supposed to be setting an example for the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
But then he starts to panic and hyperventilate, which causes Tom to call sickbay.
That was painful to watch, seeing him have like a full-on panic attack.
Yeah.
Ethan Phillips did that a little bit too well.
Well, in sickbay, it turns out Neelix is having some anxiety due to nihilophobia, the fear of nothingness, the doctor says.
A little anxiety is almost like an understatement.
Yeah. I tried to look up the proper spelling because my iPad kept saying this was spelled wrong. And I'm like, well, how do you spell it? And I was like, oh, this is made up by Star Trek. This is not a real phobia. I thought, I don't know, makes sense to me.
What's interesting about that is having people who would be traveling in space for long periods of time, you know, in these kind of environments, you would end up with completely new types of conditions.
Yeah, this would totally be one.
Yeah.
The doctor compares how Neelix is feeling to when he's deactivated. He says he goes into a void, calling it existential horror, which, I'm sorry, this is not accurate because that implies he's aware of the passage of time.
Yeah.
When he's deactivated, which he has said he is not in a very recent episode, Living Witness.
Just in the episode Living Witness, he was unaware that 700 years had passed.
Yeah.
Headcanon. Mm-hmm. The doctor is just saying this to make Neelix feel better.
I don't know. He's being pretty flippant.
But that's just how he talks.
I know.
He thinks he's helping.
I would have fired this guy as my doctor a long time ago. We find Tuvok now in astrometrics, staring at images of star charts and trying to meditate. It seems that it's harder to meditate when staring into the void. Seven suggests that he try Borg regeneration instead of meditation, saying it's more efficient. He's like, no, thank you. Because it requires an implant of some kind. He's like, I'll pass.
I guess the contrast here is that Seven seems completely unfazed by any of this.
Well, she just went through that whole thing where she was completely by herself for how long?
Oh, that's right.
How long did it take them to go through the nebula? Was it 2 months?
I think it was a month.
Yeah, she's the only one with some experience in this area.
Right. Are you not going to bring up Tuvok's joke?
No.
Well, Tuvok brings up the view and says to Seven, it's less than stellar. So he's making a play on words joke. Is that proof that this is starting to get to Tuvok?
Oh, he's cracked. Well, didn't he make a joke in the last episode? Maybe this whole mission is starting to get to him. He's around nothing but humans. And he's starting to break. Well, just then, long-range sensors start beeping. They detect more dangerous high levels of theta radiation.
Yep.
Now in Janeway's quarters, which is nearly pitch black, Chakotay tells her about the radiation they've detected. She says to alter course to the source. It's a long shot, but maybe it's something. Then he tries to invite her to the holodeck to play Velocity, which is that game where the drones fly around and run into you that I would smash the thing for.
Yeah, phaser frisbee.
But she declines. Then he gets a little bolder and says she's picked a bad time to isolate herself from the crew. He says the ship needs a captain. She does open up a bit, saying she's not really sure what's going on with her. It started when they entered the void. She's now spending all of her time just beating herself up over her decision way back in the pilot 4 years ago. She says she's the one who made the choice that stranded everyone in the Delta Quadrant. And now in the void, there are no distractions, nothing to do, nothing to think about but what she's done.
Wow.
And I think the fact that she's not in full uniform and she's in the dark and she's just staring into the blackness is making all of this worse. Like, you need to pick up one of your hobbies.
Go and visit Leonardo. I think he was in France last time we saw.
Yeah, he was going to France anyway. Chakotay says, but our mission has been a success. She says she's told herself the same thing, but those words feel empty right now. And she says, if the crew asks for me, tell them the captain sends her regards. And she goes back to staring at nothing. I mean, at least drink. Beat a punching bag.
That's probably what the doctor would tell her. That's his kind of advice.
I mean, just staring into blackness. This is bad.
I'm guessing here that the events of Hope and Fear have kind of caught up with her.
Maybe.
That's the closest she's really come to her past decisions actually catching up with her. Other than the fact they're stuck there. That would really bring things home. Something you did, this is the knock-on effect of it. This is what happened.
Yeah, I do wish she had mentioned some of the things that had happened more recently. Yeah. But she's just purely focused on, we're trapped here because of me. Yeah. And, that was something that happened 4 years ago. I think maybe what's bothering her is that she made that decision alone. Yeah. And we talked about it then, but she needed to make it alone. It was important for the story. And so maybe that's what she's stuck with. But, I mean, she's made some other bad decisions between then and now. Or at least some questionable ones that I could see her thinking about.
I was also thinking, headcanon here, perhaps she is actually suffering from the same thing that Neelix has. Yeah. But with her, instead of it turning into panic attacks, it's actually turning into very negative self-reflection.
Well, sometimes anxiety can feed itself, where you become anxious about the fact that you have anxiety and it's affecting things, in your life, and that gives you more anxiety. And it's like this big monster. But I'm not sure if it's that with her or, at this point, just straight depression.
Yes.
Some kind of a crisis that she's having. But it's a great scene. I mean, in a really short amount of time, we understand what's going on. And it's very moody in the way it's shot. And again, in how she's dressed. And, it's really dark in the room. It's just really good.
This is what I think stands out about this episode. It's using visual shorthand to tell you story points. And we've had 3 of them in this episode that have been great.
And there's many more yet to come. Yeah, this is a beautifully directed episode, no doubt. We jump to the bridge where Harry is playing his clarinet while sitting in the captain's chair with his feet up. I mean, this is uncalled for.
They're 2 months in, and I'm honestly starting to worry about, is the chain of command and discipline starting to erode? You are not in a good place as a ship at this point.
Yeah, we cracked fast. Well, then we jump back to the black and white Captain Proton holoprogram, where Tom is now trying to enlist Seven to play along. I mean, this is a futile endeavor.
I admire the idea of getting Seven to play in the holodeck and to experience other human things, the socialization, as I keep on harping on about. Mm-hmm. I don't think this is probably the best story to start with.
No, because she's not only got to imagine it, but she's also got to accept sort of the goofy state of it, like the fantastical side. Yeah.
Yes, and this is someone who thinks the holodeck's frivolous or trivial.
Her character's name is Constant Goodheart, which feels like an inefficient name for her. So many syllables. Well, anyway, she's supposed to distract the evil robot, but when Tom starts the program, she says, I am Borg, and just pulls the wires out of the robot and disables it. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's in immediately 2 seconds.
Yep. Back to the bridge, and the ship suddenly drops out of warp, and the lights start going off everywhere. Here's another one of these great shots. We get this awesome shot of Janeway turning her head suddenly just before the lights go out in her quarters. Yes. Like she knows something is happening.
Yep.
And then we get dramatic shots of lights going out everywhere around the ship from the inside and the outside.
Visually, great effects.
Tuvok and Harry are working on the bridge, trying to tap into the energy reserves. We see people in engineering trying to figure out what's happening. Chakotay is walking in the pitch-black hallways with a big flashlight, not sure where he got it, but he sees nothing, though he hears someone breathing hard somewhere, so he's trying to find the source of that. In the holodeck, Tom and Seven find a control panel. Not clear exactly on why the lights would go out, but the hologram surroundings and the black and white coloring would remain.
Yeah, this is a little bit questionable of why would only the lights go out.
It seems main power and auxiliary power are offline, but independent subsystems like environmental controls are operational. They try to reroute power from the holodecks, which they seem to have, to the emergency relays, but nothing is working.
I have the theory that the computer was so fed up with Harry's depressive clarinet music, it just shut everything down.
That song was depressing, and it went on for a long time, and then he started over, and I thought, oh, no, I've heard enough. Well, meanwhile, Chakotay finds Neelix having a panic attack in a dark corner, which is exactly where I would be.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine anything worse for someone with claustrophobia like that.
Remember that time when we were in South Dakota in the Black Hills and we went down into that mine? Which
yes.
It wasn't really a tight space or anything like that, but we went down into the mine. And remember the tour guide turned off the lights and said, "What would you do in this situation?" And I immediately turned on the flashlight that I had in my purse because I'm like, I'm not going into a dark place without a flashlight. And she was like, "Oh, that's cheating." It's like, no, because you asked me, what would you do? That's what I would do. She's like, "You're ruining the tour."
That's because Kim goes prepared.
I'm not going into a dark space without a light. Come on. On the bridge, Harry gets partial sensors online and he detects a dampening field off the port bow. Tuvok prepares to launch a photon torpedo to emit a warp flare in the darkness to try to light up what's going on out there.
Yeah.
Tom and Seven are wandering around the holodeck with dramatic music playing, so something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And Tom's flashlight suddenly shines onto a previously unseen creature who is all brown with sort of black stripes and markings.
Yeah.
I know there's something like it in TNG. I think it's that episode where Geordi turns into a weird creature.
Oh.
Do you remember that?
I don't.
I don't think the creatures look the same, but it's just what it reminded me of. All of a sudden we see it in the dark and it's not wearing any clothes. It's just something, but it's human-sized. The creature hits Tom with some kind of weapon and Tom goes down. Seven calls for the computer to disengage safety protocols and uses Captain Proton's weapon to shoot the alien and disable it.
Nice.
Funny that the computer was able to respond when everything else is down.
That's just the holodeck computer.
Back to Chuckles and Neelix, who also find one of these creatures in the dark, but before it can attack, it's hit from the side by phaser fire, and we see Janeway with her giant emergency gun firing at the creature.
Janeway's finally got something to shoot at. She's back.
Yep, she's good. The alien is hit, but still runs away, and Janeway tells Neelix and Chuckles to follow her, and off they go.
I'm surprised Janeway didn't have it on maximum.
Well, I think in the dark she might have been concerned she would shoot one of the crew.
They shouldn't have gotten away.
Well, these things might be quite tough. Who knows? On the bridge, we fire the torpedo and see there are 3 small ships hiding in the darkness. In engineering, they're struggling to get any lights or power on, but in comes Janeway with Neelix and Chuckles carrying the emergency power cell. She says this should be enough to get emergency power back online. So we get the power back and we get the lights back on. Tuvok raises shields.
Yep.
He reports we're surrounded by 3 alien vessels and there are 17 intruders on board.
Well, their shields are down, so anybody can beam on board. Oh, and the computer's down, so they can't even get warnings.
Right. Janeway suggests firing a few warning shots at the ships, but that's maybe not a great idea because they immediately fire back and cause serious damage to Voyager.
Yeah, you don't have any shields.
In sickbay, Seven brings in Tom, who's got severe burns on his face. She says she disabled the alien who attacked and he may still be alive, so the doctor's like, well, go and get him, bring him here. On the bridge, shields are down, and we're already losing this battle pretty badly when the dampening field comes back up and the lights flicker.
Yeah.
But another vessel approaches, and the aliens are beamed off the ship and retreat, except for the injured one.
Yeah.
This new vessel now that we're seeing looks like an old jalopy, and it's leaking fumes into space. It's really funny.
Oh, it's a nice touch because, it looks trashed.
Yes.
And there's this green mist coming out the sides. Again, another nice visual cue for what's going on.
It fires a bunch of charges of some kind that seem to scare off the smaller vessels. An alien from this new ship now calls, saying he had to fire 13 spatial charges to drive those ships off, and he expects to be compensated.
Who are you, Ferengi?
Tuvok's like, okay. We beam this new alien to the transporter room for a chat. Janeway says he's leaking radiation, so he needs to stay contained.
Yeah, so they keep him behind some kind of containment field in the transporter room?
Well, this guy calls himself Controller Emk from the Malon export vessel 11th Gradient.
That's a good name for a ship. 11th Gradient.
This dude is wearing a very bulky suit that looks like something maybe from the Fifth Element.
Oh.
Do you remember those big dudes?
Yes, yep.
That's what this looks like, except without the helmet part. It's a very big suit. He does have some radiation burns or something on his face, and he's very pale in coloring, and he's got super stringy hair.
I think maybe, again, there's an implication he's suffering from some kind of radiation poisoning.
I would think so, with the way they have him looking.
Yeah.
But he does, at least at first, seem to have a pretty pleasant nature. He advises Janeway to turn around, saying there are thousands of those creatures ahead and they're impossible to detect.
Yeah.
Janeway, of course, says, we can't go back. So he says, well, it appears then you'll need to come with me. There's a spatial vortex a few light years from here that we can use to jump you to the other side of the void. This, I thought, was sort of foggy because does it have sides? Like, we're in space, right? How does he know exactly where Voyager is trying to get to? It could be in any direction.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's like a box.
I assume he was just extrapolating from the direction they were actually facing.
I guess so. But even that wouldn't make sense in space, but okay. Janeway is very happy to hear this. She does ask what he's doing in the void, and he cryptically says he's on a transport mission, but he refuses to share what he's transporting.
Oh, yeah.
He's detected one of the creatures' remains on Voyager, and he wants it handed over to him. But of course, this does not sit well with Janeway, so we go from a pleasant conversation to a snippy one pretty quickly. Emp gives them 2 hours to cooperate, or they'll be left behind, and then he says he's finished talking, so they beam him back to his own ship.
Yeah, or he just says, we're done here.
Yeah, and Janeway now wants to hear the other side of the story.
I bet every Janeway BS alarm is going off at this point.
Oh, 100%. As soon as he wasn't willing to say what he was transporting. Like, he could have said it's classified or something, but he's like, nothing to see here, none of your business.
Yeah, he could have said self-sealing stem bolts.
Yeah, make something up. Well, in sickbay, we meet our alien, where we have the lights dimmed because, not surprisingly, it likes the dark.
Yep.
The doctor suggests this life form is indigenous to the void, and its physiology has evolved to survive in complete darkness. He does have minor wounds from Seven firing a phaser at him, but the real problem is he's dying from theta radiation poisoning.
Yes.
So now we have a chat with him, and we see him up close, and it's sort of hard to describe.
Yeah.
It's not wearing any clothing, and it has what looks like, I can only describe it as like hardened chocolate syrup all over his body. That's what I keep thinking when I see it. Like it's the top of a chocolate sundae. It's very strange.
Yeah, it's quite a unique alien design.
Yeah.
Because it looks like it's got like a hard shell on the outside.
Yes. Well, the alien is concerned that Voyager is allies with the Malon, but Janeway says, we just met them today. She also says they won't hand him over to the Malon, which seems like a big relief to him.
Yeah.
The alien explains that the Malon ships are poisoning their space, and they don't know why. Janeway asks for coordinates so they can return him to his people, and he agrees. She's finally excited to have something happen. So she says finally something to put in my log. It's like, okay.
This is very much the action Janeway. She doesn't seem to be able to take the things being too quiet for very long.
Part of me does kind of like that while nothing was happening, she was just like, I'll be in my quarters. Like, I'm on vacation. But then the second something happened, she appeared. Action Janeway appeared. She's shooting the bad guys, right? Well, he turned out to not be a bad guy, but she's getting the power cell to get the lights back on. She's right in the middle of it immediately. And part of me does kind of like that.
I don't know if I'd quite classify it as vacation, though. I'm going to be in my quarters heading off into a deep, dark depression.
No, but that's what we could tell the crew.
Oh.
I just need some quiet time. Now we go to Chakotay having a private conversation with Tuvok about the captain. Without prompting, Tuvok guesses the captain is blaming herself for stranding them in the Delta Quadrant. He says guilt has been her constant companion. And then he tells a story of her first year as a commander on the USS Billings, where she sent an away team to survey a volcanic moon. The shuttle was damaged by a magma eruption and 3 crew members were severely injured. So Janeway, of course, returned to the moon alone to complete the survey herself. She wanted the crew to know their suffering had not been in vain. He says her methods are unorthodox. It's her strength as a leader, but it's also her greatest weakness.
I could see how that could produce in a crew a great sense of loyalty to Janeway because she leads from the front.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also extraordinarily dangerous because you could get your captain killed and then everything goes up in flames.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about that before, where effective leadership isn't always good leadership.
Yeah.
And putting yourself into mortal danger is not necessarily the right thing to do, but it would definitely be effective.
Yeah.
And as I've said, I don't know, 1,000 times, but to get people to follow you, you have to provide 4 things: trust, compassion, stability, and hope. And obviously, she's showing a few of those things in there when she did that. When she just said, hey, I'm not going to make you go out and do that. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And if I get hurt, I get hurt. And so when people see that, they're like, wow, that's a person I should follow. And so it's effective, but
right. But it's potentially
not necessarily the right thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, upon hearing this story, Chakotay says, if she tries something like that again, I want to be ready and I need your support.
That's good.
It's good. He has no knowledge of her crazy antics during the Year of Hell, but I think he's seen it in other episodes.
Yeah.
Like the Omega Directive, scientific method where she flew through the pulsars. Yeah.
What's funny here, though, is how Chakotay seems to have no idea about Janeway's guilt and what's going on. It's like, have you zero observation skills?
I think what they imply in this scene is that Tuvok has known her longer.
Yeah.
And knows the cues. Even without her saying what she's thinking, he's able to maybe pick up on some of it. And maybe Chakotay has some ideas, but he might be leaning more towards like a recency bias of things that happened recently. And he's got to be like, yeah, but she always just gets over it. Why isn't she getting over this?
Okay. That's a good take.
We arrive now at the agreed upon coordinates, and the alien asks to use their comms to let his people know Voyager is a friend. Harry detects photonic surges, and several of the small alien ships appear in the darkness. The alien, which he never has a name, and we don't know what the species is either. They never tell us. Memory Alpha says they were referred to as the Night Aliens.
Night Aliens.
Which is the name of the episode, so like the aliens from the Night episode.
You know, I'm going to say, I think that adds a little something to it. That we don't know what these people are. They're almost invisible.
Yeah. And they like it that way.
Yeah.
The alien tells the captain that his people have lived here for millions of years, undisturbed, until the Malon came. The doctor detects that all of the aliens in the nearby ships are suffering from theta radiation exposure. The alien says, we've told the Malon they're killing us, but they don't listen. Janeway asks if they can close the vortex to keep the Malon out, but the alien says, we don't know how. As he's being beamed away, he pleads for Janeway to help, but he disappears before she answers, or at least we don't hear the answer.
You know, I thought the Federation doctors had an inoculation against theta radiation poisoning. Couldn't they share it with these people?
Well, and maybe they do, but the physiology might be quite different.
True.
Yeah, because there's also some stuff at the end about kind of cleaning up the toxic waste that I wonder if they did as well, but we don't really cover it in the episode. Well, now Voyager rejoins the old jalopy ship that is spewing even more waste. There's just like a green cloud around it now.
Yes, it's great. Every time they show it, it just looks like it smells bad.
Yeah. In Astrometrics, 7 says the vessel is ejecting massive quantities of contaminated antimatter. The ship is, in fact, loaded with it.
Yeah.
Janeway calls Emp and says she realizes now why he wanted the alien. He was worried they'd find out about him using their space as a dumping ground. Emp is like, this is none of your concern. He says his civilization produces over 6 billion isotons of industrial byproduct every day, and this is the perfect disposal site. As Janeway stands with her arms crossed, because she's mad, Chakotay says, yeah, this is convenient for you, with a spatial vortex to take you far away from your own system, out of sight, out of mind, but the problem is someone lives here. Emp doesn't see a problem with it, because it only affects a single species. Janeway's not here to debate. She says, we have a peaceful solution. We're able to purify the reactant from antimatter use to eliminate toxic waste. She says they'll exchange info with his people on the other side of the vortex, but he wants to see it now.
Yeah.
So Janeway tells Chakotay to take him to engineering and give him a demonstration. After he leaves, Janeway tells 7, scan the vortex because I want a plan B if diplomacy fails. 7 asks if she intends to destroy the vortex, and Janeway gives her this weird look but doesn't say anything. It was like a look of disdain. I don't know how else to describe it. It was weird. I was wondering if it was just, kind of from her recent mood. Like, I don't have time for discussion. Just do what I say.
I feel that look was do you really need to ask that question?
Yeah. That makes sense. Like, duh. That kind of reaction?
Yes.
Well, in engineering, we give a demo of how to eliminate the toxic waste. And somehow this alien now can wander around engineering when earlier we had to keep him in the transporter room. So I don't know, maybe we gave him a shower. Like, from Silkwood, we gave him a radiation shower.
Oh, God, one of the most brutal scenes in Silkwood, which is a fantastic movie, but also incredibly depressing.
Well, the reason it's hard to watch is because Meryl Streep is like too real. The whole thing is too real.
Yes.
That's the trouble with the movies that good actors are in. Well, B'Elanna explains everything to Emk, and he says this would solve a lot of problems on my world, but it would also put me out of business. He'd hoped their claims were exaggerated, but he can see they're not. So he's like, you can keep your solution. B'Elanna is livid, but Chakotay says it would change the entire paradigm and you could use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
But Emk says he already has the advantage because he's the only one who knows about the vortex, and his expenses are half that of others.
Yeah.
I say we just jettison this guy at this point. Out into space.
Yeah, vent him, nothing lost.
Yep.
It is very Federation that they're offering this technology to the Malon.
Yeah. Well, he makes some threats saying, you won't survive a conflict with me, and we boot him off the ship.
Yeah, which is perfect reason to boot him out in airlock.
Yeah, just float him out there. To some degree, if he had thought carefully about it, he could have realized he could build an empire on this if it's about money.
Yep.
I kept thinking about this sort of jalopy ship that he has. It kept making me think about Sanford and Son and the old jalopy and thinking if someone came to Fred Sanford with a solution to get rid of trash, would he be like, oh, I'm going to build an empire on that? No, he'd be like, get out of here. Stop trying to ruin my business. So I was thinking about him that way. He wasn't, the next great entrepreneur.
Right.
Who was going to take this as, wow, this is a different opportunity for me to actually become a billionaire. He's just like, stop messing with my stuff.
I think maybe that's the whole point with this character. He is absolutely, utterly short-sighted.
Yeah. We go to Chakotay and Janeway discussing options. Chuckles wants to get through the vortex and give the technology to the Malon on the other side. But Janeway thinks they still need to destroy the vortex to eliminate the risk.
Yeah.
But of course, there's a catch. It has to be collapsed from this end.
Yeah.
I feel like we all knew that was coming.
Oh, yeah.
Chakotay says, we were already planning 2 more years in the void. He says, I can live with that. But Janeway says, I don't think I can. And then she again recounts how 4 years ago she made the decision to destroy the caretaker's array to protect the Ocampa, stranding the crew in the Delta Quadrant. She's not prepared to give that same order again. This is not the same, but I see what she's saying.
She feels it's the same.
Janeway asks Chakotay if he's ready to be captain, and he says yes. So she says, assemble the crew. That's ominous. We go to the bridge, everyone is assembled, and Janeway enters. She apparently hasn't been on the bridge in 2 months because everyone is like, oh, it's the captain, look.
Who are you?
She gives everyone a pretty friendly look, except for Seven, I'd say. I'm not sure, again, if that was her intent, but she gives Seven a funny look. Well, now we hear her crazy plan. She intends to stay behind in a shuttle and destroy the vortex after they go through it. We all saw this coming.
Oh, yeah. After that conversation with Chakotay, there's no doubt.
B'Elanna doesn't like it, of course, and Tom is sitting with his arms crossed staring at her. Everyone is arguing with her, and ultimately Tom refuses to change course.
I think Tom should have at least been the one to say, look, Captain, with Chakotay in charge, we'll all be dead within a week.
Or somebody should have said, to hell with our orders.
Oh, yes.
Seven should have said that.
That would have been perfect.
Yeah. Well, Harry also refuses to obey orders. And Seven says, I will not comply.
Well, Seven's default is she won't comply.
That's true. That's her base. Well, Janeway circles the bridge, realizing she's not going to win the argument.
Yeah.
So she asks for another option.
I love how they all react.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great point for all these crew and reinforcing the family of Voyager aspect.
Yeah, agreed.
I wish the Doctor had been here because I think he could deliver a line like, I don't think you should make life or death decisions when you're depressed.
Yeah, totally. I mean, well, we've already established that he's the worst psychologist.
Yeah.
So Chuckles says, we enter the vortex and fire the torpedoes behind us, riding a massive shockwave out of the vortex. I mean, that sounds like a Janeway plan.
That totally sounds like a Janeway plan.
And can't you put timers on it or give the photons to the night aliens or I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Teach them how to do it.
Yeah. Give them the remote control, here, press this button.
Wait till we're through and then press the button.
Yeah. She asks about the Malon ship, and Tuvok says the bulkhead around their cargo hold is weakened due to the antimatter waste, and a direct phaser strike will disable them.
Yeah.
So Janeway says, let's do it, and we go to Red Alert and battle stations. Then she quietly chides Chakotay for having warned the crew about her plan.
Well, I think Chakotay recognizes that she's the one that's going to get them home.
Yep. Well, now the Malon ship is firing spatial charges, and Voyager tries avoiding them.
I love the space battles with Voyager, because you see it flying between the charges.
Yep. Photons and phasers are not having an effect on the Malon shields.
Yeah.
They bring up their enhanced rear shielding, but quickly lose one nacelle, then quickly lose the other.
Yep.
So without engines, Janeway's plan is to get into the vortex and ride the shockwave of the explosion. Amazing.
Yep.
Then we see the jalopy ship slowly moving in their path to the vortex. I feel like when we had engines, we could fly faster than this stupid freighter.
Yes, and that is one of my questions of how exactly did it manage to get in front of them?
I don't know. It was for effect. Well, anyway, now the other aliens appear and try to draw the fire of the jalopy, and it works.
Yes.
Janeway says, target their cargo hold. It's time to take out the garbage.
Oh, man.
And boom, the freighter explodes dramatically.
I feel there was an aspect to this of they were just telling themselves, we're only going to target the hold of the ship. It's better than saying, yeah, we're just going to blow it up first chance we get.
We're going to blow it up.
Yeah.
And leave a whole lot of toxic waste behind as well. But I guess he was going to drop that anyway, so there was no stopping that. At this point, I feel like we could stop and repair the engines, but we don't. We fly straight into the vortex, drop the 3 torpedoes behind us. The explosion throws us forward as the vortex collapses behind us. We manage not to die, but we do end up just short of the end of the void because we've collapsed the vortex while we were in it.
Yeah.
And they all stare into the black view screen, waiting to see something. And slowly, normal space comes into view, and we get everyone's face kind of looking relieved.
Even the Doctor and B'Elanna come to the bridge.
Yep. And Janeway says, full speed ahead. The end. All right, before we go to overanalysis, I will just say that according to Memory Alpha, we used 13 photon torpedoes in this episode.
I was going to ask you that. Did you count how many we used? It was funny how many. They were just firing them out everywhere.
We have now overshot our original number of torpedoes by 2. Again, according to Memory Alpha. I did not go back and count. But that means at this point, we should have no torpedoes unless we have figured out how to create them.
Same deal as the shuttle. There's some guys in a cargo bay just assembling them.
Yep. Okay, let's go to overanalysis. What do you have?
Okay, first thing. Do Talaxians have better night vision and hearing than humans? Because when they're in the corridor, Neelix was the first one to see that there was an alien there with the dim lighting and could actually hear the guy breathing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we've covered that before.
Well, I mean, that's possible. It's also possible that they weren't both looking in the exact same spot when they were moving the light around. So Neelix just saw something that Chakotay didn't. Also possible. Yeah. And Neelix could maybe hear somebody else breathing, but all Chakotay could hear was Neelix breathing in his ear. Or yes, maybe his eyesight and hearing is a little bit more in tune with the darkness.
That's something new we've learned. Next thing. So would they be giving this technology to the Malons anyway? I think if you're responsible, because like I said, they're dumping it somewhere. Yeah. I think you probably would have to. I think you have a moral obligation to pass this technology on. And once you give it to them, it's their problem what they do with their waste disposal industry.
Right. Yeah, I think it's the responsible Starfleet thing to do. And also they've got pretty advanced ships, so it's not like you're giving technology to a race that's not very advanced, because they seem pretty far along. But it also looks like they're killing themselves as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a potential for what kind of environmental damage are they doing on their own homeworld?
Well, we talked about that a little bit with the Omega directive of, do you just let those people die off because they're running out of resources?
Right, yeah.
Because you've taken away their ability to try to get power or whatever from the Omega particle. Yeah. So it's like, is it okay then to just let them die off? Because that's the point that they've reached. And, it's like the same with these guys, except they're not just affecting themselves.
Potentially killing other races. And
because who knows where they're dumping that stuff? This guy just stumbled into this place. He probably accidentally flew into the vortex.
Yeah, and it sounds like they probably don't really care where they dump it.
Doesn't seem like it. Reminds me of WALL-E.
Oh, right. Yes. Next thing. If the holodecks are in high demand, then you have to have a strict timer on all the holo programs. Your time's up, you're booted out.
Yeah.
If it's an important part of keeping morale high, I think letting self-entitled narcissists like Tom overrun their time is a bad idea.
Yeah, it just reminded me of that episode where B'Elanna stumbled into that program where the Maquis were embarking in a mutiny.
Oh, yes.
Remember? And then Tom showed up and he's like, oh, get out, I want to play. What?
Oh, Tom being his usual self.
Why do we let him be like that?
Yeah. Next one, and this is the long one.
Yeah.
So they have to store 2 years of supplies and energy to keep the ship operating at warp for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've ever heard if that's even technically possible. And I don't think on Star Trek we've ever seen anyone to attempt this before.
Well, remember they got a lot of deuterium a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
So maybe they would just allow themselves to use a lot of that up.
Yeah. So you think they won't have a fuel crisis as they're traveling across?
I guess not. I think we're supposed to believe that they figured out how much they would need, but then you'd have to be pretty careful about altering course, right?
Yeah.
So there's that, and then there's, why did we not see them trying to conserve in any way?
Yeah.
If we go back to whatever episode that was where they all had to, sleep in one space, right? Why were they not trying to do stuff like that?
Right.
But we weren't doing that, so...
Yeah, they better have it on the money for their fuel consumption, otherwise you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
And that, because that leads on to the next part of this, of what about wear and tear on the ship? Are you going to be able to run the engines at warp for that entire length of time, as well as other systems potentially having problems? You'll literally have no way out for 2 years.
Yeah, it seems like they're thinking, since we're not going to run into anyone, we're just going to kind of coast through here.
Yeah.
And as long as we maintain course, we'll be fine. But, risky. That's what Voyager does best.
Oh, I would go, that's even worse. That's wildly reckless. If you get becalmed, actually stuck in there, it doesn't really matter. Nobody, you can launch the escape pods. You're all going to die in there.
Yeah, but you've still got shuttles.
And they're going to be able to fly for 2 years.
Well, they don't have to fly for 2 years. The most they'd have to fly is half of that, right?
It's still flying a shuttle for a year.
But they didn't show it.
Yeah.
I kind of like when they do that, when not just Star Trek, but when shows do that, when they start us beyond the debate about it and the preparation, and we're already in it.
Yeah, we're already in it,
Because that's not the interesting part of the story. So you got to believe they did a whole thing. They did a whole spreadsheet that prepared them for this exact thing. They must know what they can do in that 2-year period, or they wouldn't have done it.
Okay, let's assume I agree with your technical summary there, that they spreadsheeted it and went, look, all the numbers line up.
Right.
As you're the number person, I'll trust you on that one. I think they didn't take into account the psychological effect of what this would do to the crew.
Yeah.
Because it's not really going to help your journey to the other side. If you get through and you have barely functioning engines, say, and you're running out of now supplies, you're right on the edge, but 20% of your crew has been driven crazy.
Well, I'll say a couple things. One, I don't think they necessarily thought they wouldn't run into anything for 2 years.
Yeah.
They couldn't see with their sensors. They couldn't see far enough, right? They couldn't see all the way to the other side.
They knew how far it was. Seven said there was nothing for 2,500 light years.
But they couldn't necessarily tell what was between there and the end, because their sensors really weren't working with all the theta radiation.
Yes, but Seven does say they couldn't detect anything.
Yeah, but my point is, they didn't know for sure there was actually nothing.
That makes it even worse. You're now going, fingers crossed, we might find something.
I don't think they even really understood what they were getting into. That it was going to be just blackness. And But, you can fool yourself. Remember when Garrick...
Okay. Yeah.
But remember when Garrick had claustrophobia?
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it was Bashir or who it was, took him into the holodeck to try to get him to see some big expanse of, a fake environment.
Yeah.
But he still knew he was in the holodeck, so it didn't necessarily work. But we could have put fake stars on the screen to make it look like we were moving.
Yeah.
The computer could have done something like that to try to help ease the stress of looking at nothing for so long. Because the computer knows it's moving, because the sensors are still working, apparently. So I do feel like we could have done some tricks.
Yeah, to try and mitigate the issue. Interesting.
Yeah, and we should have, again, I feel like we had to talk about this. We had to talk about we might have no contact with anyone for 2 years. Somehow it's their only option.
Which I think is funny because...
Which we should have talked about, but we didn't.
Because here's my take. I would think as part of that, they made a massive mistake in their planning then, if they're 2 months in and they're already starting to crack up.
Yeah.
And they're already starting to see people with the effects of depression, which could be absolutely fatal to the ship if your crew starts having serious problems.
Yeah, they probably should have told us they were a little farther in.
Yeah.
Like maybe 6 months in or something.
Yes. Yeah, right? There you go.
Yeah.
And because otherwise it would be, even if it adds a year to the journey, you should probably go around, up or down or left or right or some other way to get past this thing. Because if you lose the ship and the crew during this, you've gained nothing.
Or they should have told us it was 20 years around. Or, should have given us some crazy number of why we wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I guess we just have to assume that was the case. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Again, it reminds me a little bit of COVID. Where?
Oh, yes.
People cracked up pretty soon. Part of the problem with COVID is, in the beginning, nobody knew how long it was going to be or if it would ever end. And so many people were dying, and it was, every piece of news was awful.
Yeah.
So, there was that added stress. But I think there were definitely stories of people sort of cracking up because they were like trapped in their house with nobody else there. And it was just difficult for a lot of people. And even for those of us who were in houses with other people, it's the same thing. If it's the same thing every single day and you can't see when the end of it is, it can add a lot of anxiety.
And you're very much an indoor cat as well.
Yeah, I'm fine being in the house. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, all good points. And I think my final point is, Janeway seemed to get a big phaser, pretty quickly. Has she followed my advice that she now has them stashed all over the ship for easy access?
Absolutely. It's under her bed. She pulled that one out. As soon as she did that thing with the head turn, she got the phaser, put her jacket on, out the door.
And that wraps up my overanalysis. Over to you, Kim.
Let's talk about Janeway a little bit.
Yes.
Chakotay said she was isolating herself, but really, I think they were trying to show us she was depressed.
Yes, that's exactly what I took from it.
I would have thought that would have hit her before now, but I mean, at least we got to it eventually.
I think there's been the hint of the weight of command coming down on Janeway. There's been times of negative introspection.
Yeah.
And I think the problem here is she's got nothing but time to do that.
Okay. This is a common theme that they use with captains, like going back to Kirk and really the movies. Like she needed someone to save, something reckless to do, to feel sort of alive. And like she was really doing her job. And we get that, way back from Kirk in the movies, right?
Yep.
I'm not sure that's necessarily healthy, but maybe you need to have that attitude to be a successful captain in Starfleet because so many things that you do are just pure risk. Yeah. You got to be always willing to jump out of the airplane thinking you're going to be okay.
While you sit in that chair, you can make a difference. Don't let them take it away from you.
Exactly. But that started in 2, when Kirk was feeling old.
Oh, yeah. The scene on his birthday where Bones says to him, don't become an antique.
Mm-hmm. And I do think that's realistic.
Yeah.
It's not just Starfleet captains, but just people as we get older.
Yeah.
My second thing is, did we clean up any of the radiation for the creatures? Are they all doomed? Did we help them with their radiation poisoning? Don't know. Okay,
let's headcanon it off screen. The doctor provided a load of information how they can inoculate themselves against theta radiation, maybe treatments. Maybe B'Elanna shared some trips.
Cleanup stuff.
Yeah, some cleanup ideas.
Yeah, I hope so.
I prefer to think of it that way.
I did see an interesting connection between Neelix in Mortal Coil and Neelix's fear of nothingness.
Oh.
Because they're kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? So I like that connection. But I think
maybe the events in Mortal Coil brought this on.
Yeah. Oh, maybe. Yeah. And again, here I think as a claustrophobic, this blackness and not feeling like you're moving should have gotten to Tom. But this episode's not about Tom. So I think that's why we're like, forget it. We don't care about Tom.
Well, it didn't seem to be affecting Tom. I mean, he was just as jerky as he normally is.
Yeah, totally. How well do you think we showed the Janeway crisis? I think if it's a true depression, we ended it pretty quickly, though I guess this trip had been going on for months, so not entirely unrealistic that maybe she was already on an upswing. I don't know.
With Janeway, it's really more of a temporary crisis of conscience about second guessing yourself.
So she was just kind of in a funk.
Yeah, it's not a full-on depression.
Yeah, okay. I don't have anything in Women in the Future, but Janeway's leadership corner, there's a lot we could talk about, and a lot we've already kind of talked about.
Yeah.
When Neelix says the thing about the people taking comfort in seeing the captain is an absolute truth about leadership. If she's a good leader, her confidence and her demeanor matter. I mean, they matter probably more than anything else just in terms of morale of the people around her. I see that all the time where once I've established myself within a team, my attitude becomes contagious, whether I wanted to or not. I learned this term on a podcast I listened to once about working with negative people, negative energy around you. It's called emotional contagion. And it's a real thing where if you're surrounded by negative people, you become a negative person.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that has happened to me where when I was at a job that I was surrounded by negative people, I just started to be really negative. And then that meant everybody who reported to me, hundreds of people, are impacted by that. So I really like that when Neelix said that, because I'm like, that is so completely true. So I thought that was a good leadership moment that we talked about that.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when she tried to make that decision to stay behind, though, if you're going to think about depression, I don't think that's how Starfleet captains should operate. I think we've talked about that before, of them doing something super risky that puts their lives in danger. You think you're doing the right thing, but you ultimately will doom your crew by doing that to yourself.
Maybe I'm actually wrong about saying that with Janeway. I think this actually was an indication that Janeway maybe was significantly more depressed, that what we were actually seeing here was her almost trying to atone for her sins of getting them all stranded there.
Yeah.
That this is weighing on her that heavily, that she's going to sacrifice herself to get them out, potentially not make it out because she's only in a shuttle. This is,
Yeah. But I guess what's different is that her plan wasn't something that was just going to blow up her shuttle.
No.
She even said to B'Elanna, I'll have rations. I'll be, in a shuttle. I'll be fine, which is kind of a crazy thing to say because there's no evidence that there's any way that she could survive, except she did now have some allies in these aliens, but it's not like she could go and live with them.
Well, I suppose you could look at it like this. She has enough supplies for 2 months. She turns around and goes back the way she came. So she's stuck in the Delta Quadrant.
Goes back to the Delta Quadrant.
Yes.
Well, or she works with those aliens to find another way out, because maybe they know another way. That's possible too, I suppose.
Or maybe they could support her for 2 years through the thing.
Yeah, maybe.
As repayment for closing it. So it's not impossible, but we didn't really address any of those possible options.
I think it was less about her being sort of in this state of mind where she wanted to go on a suicidal mission, and more maybe about she's at this point where she is finding it difficult to make a hard decision. And so she's not going to make that hard decision for other people. And maybe that was just more indicative of her state of mind.
Yeah.
A mission where she would sacrifice herself.
She wasn't going to strand them again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's go to rating. We've been talking about this for a really long time. So thumbs up, thumbs down, or neutral. What is your rating of this episode?
Absolute 2 thumbs up. What a great Star Trek episode. There's also a message in here in between the action and what's happening to the crew and the great visuals. It's a story about pollution and about destroying environments. It's an environmental message, again, wrapped up in Star Trek. What a great episode. And it was directed by David Livingston. And a lot of the choices he made, I thought, were really great visual storytelling. So, thumbs up.
Yeah, I think that name is very familiar. I believe he's a pretty prolific Star Trek director. I think he's done a lot of episodes.
Yes, he has.
I agree. I absolutely loved this episode. I'd really give it 2 thumbs up. I saw some complaints about it online where people were saying they don't want to see a captain depressed or they don't want to see a captain like, Janeway was in this episode. Yeah. But I also remember at the beginning of Picard, how many people were complaining that that's not the Picard I know. It's like, of course it wasn't the Picard you knew. It was several years later. Things change. People mature. People age. And maybe it's because I also am older now and I appreciate the way you start to reflect on things and the way you start to question whether or not you can do it anymore or you've even got it in you anymore to do it.
And I think your approach changes.
It has to, because you change. That's just how life is. So I actually find it moderately offensive when people get mad that it's like, that person would never change. You're going to change. I hate to tell you. But why wouldn't these captains reflect on the things that they had to do?
Yeah.
Because there were things they had to put aside in order to function. Like we talked a lot about Picard. How could he sleep? Well, he had to put that aside.
Yeah.
Because he had to function. But then when you have a lot of time to think about it later, that stuff's going to come up and you don't have as many reasons to push it aside. I do think that's kind of what they were trying to show here with Janeway. Once they got into the void and there was nothing to do and nothing new to think about, then all she was thinking about, now she was obsessing about one bad decision that she had decided she made.
Agreed.
Even though if she went back, she'd make that same decision under those same circumstances. Under these different circumstances, she might make a different one.
Yeah, she made the ethical decision.
Yeah, because she essentially tried to make that same decision here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting. I just think the way they're portraying that with the captains, at some point they have to look at things differently. I think that's realistic.
Yeah.
And having them not change is the thing that's not realistic.
Right.
So I love this episode. It's maybe one of my favorites.
Oh.
I like the mood of it. I like the different way that they were using camera angles. I like the way it ended. I obviously always love it when the team comes together at the end to say, no, yes, we hear you're trying to do this stupid thing, but we are here as well, and we're going to push you through, and we're going to succeed together.
Right.
And I really like that. And there were just little moments in it that we talked about that I thought were great. I loved, of course, the hope at the end. I always love to end with hope, and we absolutely ended with hope. And we blew up the bad guy in his jalopy. Get out of here. That was good.
In his pollution spewing freighter.
Yeah, he needed to go. So, yeah, great start to the season.
I am in complete agreement.
Well, that wraps up season 5.
Yes, we're on 5.
Well, that wraps up season 5, episode 1. Come back next week for episode 2. In the meantime, if you'd like to send us your own overanalysis of this or any episode, or if you just want to say something nice, you can email us at ReBingeIT@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and YouTube at ReBingeIT, and you can join the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Star Trek TTM podcasts.
Thanks for joining us on the ReBinge Star Trek Voyager podcast.
That's it for me.
And that's it from me.